Carly, there's someone I want you to meet. I looked at my dad. So this was why he had brought me out to a nice restaurant for dinner? Before I had a chance to say anything, a woman came over and stood beside my dad. Dad put his arms around her and pulled her towards him. "This is Katherine Smith," said Dad. "She's my fiance." My mouth fell open in shock. How could Dad even think about getting married? It was too quick. I looked at the woman. She was tall, really tall, almost the same height as my dad. She had long brown hair. I guess some people might say she was pretty, but I took an instant dislike to her. I didn't need a new mom. Dad and I had been getting along fine with just the two of us. Now she had come along, and I just knew that she was going to spoil everything. It had only been a few months since Mom had disappeared. I remember the day as if it was yesterday. I had waved goodbye to her as she dropped me off at the school gates. Little did I know that that would be the last time I would ever see my mom again. They found her car at the bottom of a cliff. The police said she must have been driving too fast and swerved off the road. The police searched the surrounding area, but they never found her body. They just closed the case and said she was presumed dead. But before I could go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I promise, you'll be happy you do. A week after our dinner at the restaurant, Katherine moved into our house. Right from the very beginning, everything she did just annoyed me. She changed some of the furniture around and put her own pots and pans in the kitchen. I wanted things to be just how it was when Mom was here, but Katherine had her own way of doing things. And the other really annoying thing was, she was always sucking up to me. I knew she was just trying to impress my dad. One night, we were all sitting eating dinner together when she turned to me and said, "Carly, I've got a surprise for you. I'm going to take you into town on Saturday, and we can buy you some new clothes. After that, we can go and watch a movie together." "Oh, that sounds like great fun, doesn't it, Carly?" said Dad. Inside, I was seething, but I put a smile on my face for Dad's sake. "Yes, that's so kind of you. Thank you, Katherine," I said. "Oh, you can call me Mom." "I already have a mom, so I think I will just call you Katherine." Katherine looked at Dad. I pushed my plate away and made my excuse to go to my room. As I was leaving the kitchen, I heard Dad whisper to Katherine, "Just give her time. She'll come around." But he was wrong. I was never gonna come around. I hated Katherine. She had ruined my life. There was no way she was ever going to replace my mom. I would have to think of an excuse to get out of shopping with her. But in the end, I didn't need to. At the last minute, Katherine said that she had to go out of town for the weekend. She promised she would make it up to me another time. Most of the time, I managed to stay out of her way. I was at school all week, and straight after dinner, I would tell them that I had homework to do and spend the rest of my evening in my room. And luckily, every weekend, Katherine had to go out of town for something. At the weekends, my best friend Jess would come and hang out at my house. She was the only one I could confide in. "I just don't trust her," I told Jess. "She's too good to be true." Jess agreed with me that things just didn't add up. Why was Katherine sucking up to me? Okay, I understood that she wanted me to like her to make my dad happy, but she went over the top. She was always buying me things. Almost every day she came home with a new dress or pair of shoes for me. When I wanted a new phone, my dad said no, but the next day she went out and bought one for me. "I'm sure she's got something to hide, Jess. Even her name is suspicious. Smith? That's just too convenient, isn't it?" I said. "I'm going to find out what her secret is." The following weekend, when Katherine went out of town, I got my chance. Dad always had a meeting he needed to go to, so I had the house to myself. I went into their bedroom to see what I could find. I looked through the clothes hanging up in her wardrobe, but I couldn't see anything there. Katherine's makeup and jewelry was on the dressing table, but that was all. I went to her bedside table and opened the drawer. There didn't seem to be anything unusual inside, but then I noticed at the back of the drawer was a black box. I took it out and tried to open it, but it was locked. I looked in the drawer to see if there was a key, but couldn't find one. I went back over to Katherine's dressing table. Amongst her hairbrushes, I found a hairpin. I'd seen this done in the movies. I jiggled the hairpin inside the keyhole in the box. I didn't think it would work, but suddenly I heard a click and the lid of the box opened. Inside was just her driving license and some letters and documents, nothing exciting. I was about to put the box back, but before I did, I picked up her driver's license and looked at her picture. "What are you hiding, Katherine Smith?" I thought to myself. That's when I saw it. Her name. It wasn't Smith. The license said her surname was Sidorva. "Ha ha ha! I knew it," I said. I put the box in the drawer and went back to my room. I was dying to tell Jess what I had discovered, but it would have to wait until Monday morning. Jess was in the countryside visiting her grandparents for the weekend. They lived a few hours' drive from us. I didn't get a chance to speak to Jess until lunchtime. "Jess, you will never guess what I've seen," I said to her as we sat down in the canteen. I didn't think it could be anywhere near as weird as what I saw at the weekend, she replied. Why? What did you see? I asked. Jess told me that while she had been visiting her grandparents, they had gone into town to get something for lunch. We were looking for a place to park the car when I saw a woman coming out of the shops with some groceries. She looked exactly like your mom, she said. I wish it was her, I said. Jess smiled at me kindly. I wish it was too. But they say everyone has a double somewhere. Anyway, what did you discover? I told Jess about Katherine's driver's license. Wow, that does seem strange, she said. I know, but I'm not going to say anything to her yet. First, I'm going to do some more investigating. When I got home, I went straight to my room and switched on my computer. I typed in Katherine Sidorova. I couldn't find anything in that name, but a paragraph came up. It was definitely a photo of Katherine, but the name underneath was Katrina Sidorova? It was taken in Moscow, Russia. So, she wasn't who she said she was. She was from Russia. I bet she is a Russian spy, I thought to myself. I decided I would take another look in the box inside her drawer, see if I could find out anything else about her. The first opportunity I got, I went and took out the box. I took out all the letters. They were just blank statements, receipts for purchases, etc., until I opened the last envelope and got the shock of my life. Inside was a photo of my mom. I wondered what on earth Katherine would be doing with a photo of my mom. Could she have had something to do with my mom's disappearance? Maybe she forced my mom off the road, I thought. I knew that if I was going to get her sent to prison for this, I would need some proof she had been involved. I decided I would go to the scene of my mom's accident and see if I could find any evidence. I went to the place where the police had found Mom's car. They said the only explanation was that it must have gone off the top of the cliff. But when I got there, I couldn't see any signs of an accident. The barrier along the edge was completely intact. There didn't even seem to be a scratch on it. I didn't know what had happened. I knew one thing for sure, no way had my mom's car gone off the edge of this cliff. So how did it end up at the bottom? I wondered. There was only one way I was going to find out the truth. I was going to have to spy on Katherine. I decided I would follow her everywhere she went. Eventually, she was bound to slip up and reveal her true identity. I began to follow her everywhere she went, but I couldn't find anything unusual. She only went to the supermarket to buy groceries and into town to pay some bills. Basically, she was behaving like an ordinary housewife. I searched through the text messages on her phone, but again, I couldn't find anything. There were only texts to my dad and me there. In her diary were only appointments at the hairdressers and dentists. It was so frustrating. I felt sure she was responsible for my mom's accident, but I just couldn't find what I was looking for. The following weekend, Katherine said she had to go out of town again. She always went by train, so it was easy for me to follow her. I jumped onto the train and took a seat a few rows back from her. We had been on the train for a couple of hours when I saw she was getting her things together. She was obviously getting off the next stop. The train pulled into the station and I got off. I followed her as she walked along the road, making sure that I stayed far enough behind her so she didn't notice me. The road led to a park with a wooded area in the middle. I followed her as she took the path into the middle of the woods. Ahead of us, I could see there was a log cabin. As we got nearer to it, I hid behind a tree. I watched as Katherine went inside the cabin. Once she was safely in, I crept up to the cabin and peered through the window. I couldn't believe my eyes. Sitting on the couch inside the cabin was my mom. So she didn't kill my mom. She kidnapped her, I thought. I opened the door to the cabin. Mom looked up at me. I thought she would be pleased to see me, but her face fell. "Carly, what are you doing here? You're going to ruin everything," she said. "What are you—" I began to say, but before I could finish my sentence, Katherine walked into the room. "You shouldn't have come here, Carly," she said darkly. "You shouldn't have followed me." "I know you're a Russian spy," I cried. "I'm going to tell the police everything." "No, you can't do that. You must go home," said my mom. "Why are you taking her side?" I screamed at Mom. That's when Mom told me everything. It was true that Katherine was a Russian spy, but she was actually a double agent. She was working for the United States government. Her country had sent her to kill my mom, but instead of killing my mom, she had faked her accident and brought her to this log cabin to keep her safe. But why didn't the police notice that the barriers at the top of the cliff hadn't been damaged? I asked her. "Oh, that was easy. I just hacked into the police computer and changed all the details of the incident report," Katherine said. "But what about Dad?" I asked. "Does he know that Mom is still alive?" Mom and Katherine looked at each other. "No, he doesn't, and he can never find out," said Mom sadly. Your dad is working for the Russian government. What? I asked. That can't be true. I'm sorry, Carly, said Katherine. Your mom was right. Your dad is also a double agent. He was planning to kill your mom. That's why I had to get her into a safe place. I'm organizing a new identity for her. Now, I will need to do the same thing for you. And that's how my life changed forever. I'm now living undercover with my mom, hiding from my dad. In case you're wondering, all of the names in this video have been changed to protect the identity of my family and friends. So it just goes to show, things aren't always as they seem. And you should never judge a book by its cover.